Okay, welcome. I just wanted to jump on and go over weekly questions. So I get a lot of questions. Sorry, I was getting some feedback. Okay, we're back. Hi. So I wanted to go live and go over questions I get. I get weekly questions, and sometimes within my private practice, like I'll get the same question or the same theme. Like a lot of people are going through the same thing. So I thought I'd start going live to answer these questions. And I get questions in the comments and a lot of the content that I make, as well as in my DMs, people asking about certain things. So I wanted to go live and answer a lot of your questions. Some of them, like I said, are just like thematic for whatever's going on right now. So the first one is okay. So between my clients, what people write me on social media or ask me about on my content, and I'll listen. I'll hear, here's what's going on, here's the situation, and they won't do this or they're doing this, and I'm triggered in this way. I listen to the whole story, and here's what I'm going to say. If I could, you know, just make like a little pithy synopsis of every time I hear all of these things, and yeah, I could answer specifically each little thing, but it all comes down to this. You deserve someone that can consistently show up for you in a way that makes you feel safe and loved and supported. Like, that's what it is. That's what it all comes down to. And a lot of your frustrations, why you're reaching out to me, why you are triggered or upset is because that person can't show up for you consistently, can't consistently provide support or love for you, and your attachment style is getting triggered, something's getting triggered, and it's hopefully getting triggered because you know that you want, need, and deserve more. So and it's also good if you're getting triggered, because it's an indication that you want to move more towards a secure attachment. So secure attachment means you feel safe and calm and loved and relaxed in your relationship. Of course, every relationship has its ups and downs and its conflict points. We need conflict to deepen intimacy, but with the conflict leads to a conflict resolution. So the conflict doesn't always feel good. It brings up some discomfort, but that discomfort, just like all discomfort, even personal discomfort, is supposed to lead to your evolution, to becoming a higher and better version of yourself. So when you have that in a relationship, it is uncomfortable. You go through the conflict resolution phase of a relationship, and then your relationship deepens and becomes stronger. That is what's supposed to happen. So yeah, within a relationship, I'm just looking at my notes. Um, so if that's not happening, if you get to the conflict resolution stage and it's not happening, you're just getting triggered again and again in this person. This is why I specialize in narcissistic abuse and personality disorders and how to heal from these toxic relationships, because you're just repeating the same pattern, which is often rooted in childhood trauma, right? So if you can't get out of that loop with that person, then it's time to leave them alone. And I say that kind of lightly, but it is time to detach from that and not just leave that person alone, leave that dynamic alone, release that dynamic. And we do a lot of healing. We recalibrate, we reprogram the nervous system and the brain so we don't attract those dynamics anymore. That's what the goal is. Um, but it is time to do that, and it's time to get a little bit uncomfortable, and sometimes we have to be in the depths of despair and get to like, why am I doing this again? I don't want to feel like this again, to finally move out of that dynamic. So that is a good thing. But honestly, like, what I can say is, and like when I deal with a lot of my clients, they're like, especially in the initial stages, they'll take me to the through the trajectory through the tra- excuse me, through the trajectory of their relationships. And it's like things have gotten, the awareness has increased, things have gotten better and better. And it's kind of like, okay, well, this relationship, like all relationships, are there to teach you about yourself and what you want, need, and deserve, and just help you evolve, right? So it's kind of like, okay, do I want to continue this dynamic? No. What I learned from this dynamic is that I'm this type of person and I want, need, and deserve these things. So you want your relationship to do that for you. You want your relationship to if you are healing from something and you know that, like, I can't build a life with this person, I can't continue in this dynamic, the the next step is to be like, okay, what did I learn from this relationship, and what am I leaving behind? What patterns am I leaving behind? What negative attachment styles am I leaving behind? What am I letting go of? Okay? So that's where we want to get to with relationships. But yeah, if you're ruminating and it's like again and again, it's time to release that pattern, my love. It's time to let it go. Um, and so another question I get is, let's say you guys do actually break up and then it's like, why am I ruminating? Why can't I let that, why do I just have these persistent thoughts? I do have a video about having obsessive thoughts about a person and how to release that, like using neuroscience and really recalibrating your neural pathways, and what I call like uninstalling a certain program and then downloading a new healthier program so you attract healthier people. But yeah, those obsessive thoughts, it is your nervous system. Your nervous system got used to a certain thing, and not even just from that person. You attracted that person because we attract what we haven't healed in our childhood trauma. We attract what we haven't resolved, and that's okay. And like, even you could have a healthy, securely attached relationship and still have these unresolved things come up. You want a healthy, safe container for it. But if you've broken up with someone and it was the right decision to do that, and then you're having like just obsessive thoughts about it, one, give yourself grace and know that that is just your nervous system needing, it's just recalibrating. So like really the space, and not dealing with that person, or not jumping into another relationship, is really healthy, because you don't want your nervous system needs to be recalibrated. A lot of people make the fatal mistake, and I know it's very tempting to basically numb out with a new relationship that you have no business being in. And I've done it before. I've definitely done it before. Just jumped right into a new relationship because I wanted to numb the pain. Like we all want to, and you also, if you're leaving a relationship, you feel like not good about yourself. You feel rejected, and all of these things are just like, you just don't feel great about yourself, and you want to use that other person sometimes. And I'm not saying this is all conscious, but you want to validate yourself or feel better about yourself. So you jump into something new. And I would recommend not doing that. It's really good to have alone time and to recalibrate your nervous system, be around a good support system, or cultivate a good support system, and then also pour into yourself. Be your best support system. So that's why I'm always saying pour into yourself, pour into yourself, pour into yourself. And that will help you so much. That will help you so much really get rid of a lot of these obsessive thoughts. So many of them will completely dissipate to the point where my clients are like, oh my gosh, I went most of the day without thinking about them. Oh my gosh. And then there's this whole trajectory of like, I I would never even get back with them, where all they were thinking about is having these obsessive thoughts of like, I want to get back with them. No, I don't want to get back with them, but I don't want them to like forget about me, or I want them to know that, I'm special or I'm amazing, and that they're missing out. None of those thoughts are there anymore. They've moved on with their life, and they're attracting someone way better, just that serves them so much better. And that's where we want to get to. That is where you've moved on in a healthy way, where you've taken, again, our relationships are our teachers. So you taken that relationship and used it to be like, okay, here's what I've learned about it. Here's what I learned about myself and how I react in certain things. And here's what I want to change. And then you become a better version of yourself, and then you attract higher and better. That is what we want. And so here's another question. so narcissists, so I was getting a lot of questions over the past 2 weeks about narcissists basically using time and like carrot dangling, like, okay, well, we'll do this thing. Like one of my clients was like, this guy was so great at first, and I kind of saw it like coming from a mile away, but like, and I told her that I'm like, I don't know, but it's good to just have the process yourself. And so she was just like, yeah. And then he said he was going to do this and then he didn't. And like, first of all, when anyone, but especially a man, doesn't keep his word, out. So if he is saying, oh, yeah, I promise to do this, I promise to get back to you within an hour. And I'm so excited to, we're going to have so much, and then doesn't. No, no. One, that is like beta male energy. That should give you the ick, right? We don't like anyone that says that, like, I promise to do that. And like this one client did have trauma around her dad saying, like, oh, I'm going to promise to do something and then not do it. So we got a chance to look at that and, you know, create some healing around that. So it was a good thing. But in general, if someone, would you tolerate that behavior from someone else? How would you feel? Like, would you do that to someone, by the way? Oh, I promise I'll get back to you about, and then you don't get back to the person. So, but a lot of narcissists and people with personality disorders and people that just really have low self-esteem and really actually don't even like themselves will do that. They'll carrot dangle, like, oh yeah, like we're gonna do this thing, and then it never comes. Or they'll say like, okay, or they'll plan something. Okay, we're gonna do this thing on Friday, and then cancel. Or they'll plan it. Oh, I'm looking forward to it, and then they'll cancel right at the last minute, or they're like running so late because they're so busy. I'm going to get to the busy thing in a second. But all of those things, that's not safe behavior. Like safety is consistency. You feel relaxed. It's like, okay, this person's going to show up. It's going to be good. And so the other thing is like this whole thing, and it's kind of funny to me at this point, like, oh my God, I'm so busy. Like, it's 2025. Your phone is attached to you. Everyone has time to answer a text. Everyone, like, you're not too busy, especially like I would say like the higher like your socioeconomic status is, it's like those people are less busy, right? And I'm thinking about my client again because this guy like just he definitely had time and just wasn't giving it to her. And like that's at some point it's kind of like, well, I'm amazing. So if you're not giving me that time, and she is amazing. And so like if you're not giving me that time, bye. Like I have like a lot of other options. And so but it's the same thing. So getting back to this thing, and I also was noticing that a lot of narcissists and people with personality disorders that are like over the age of 50, like 50 and older, do this thing about, oh, I'm so busy and I'm just so like, oh, I'm so high in demand. And like, babe, it's not the 90s anymore. Like, I think in the 90s, if you're an adult, or if you're an adult in the 90s, it was like a flex to be busy and not get back to people. And that was like, I think, a status thing. And like, oh, like I'm hard to get to or whatever. That doesn't work anymore. And so like, I laugh with a lot of my clients about this who are dealing with a narcissist that, is still trying to do that thing. Like, and I tell them, I'm like, it's not the 90s anymore. And so even when I've dealt with clients in my executive practice that are like, oh my God, yeah, I'm so busy. It's like, no, you're not. And I actually have said it's not the 90s anymore. Oh, shut that shit right down. It shut it right down. And they were on time because it was embarrassing. Because it is like, oh yeah, I don't know, it's kind of like they got caught. And so, and when you catch a narcissist like that, it's called narcissistic annihilation, and they kind of crumble and dismantle and kind of retreat and feel shame and all this stuff. And then they'll recalibrate their behavior and then they'll act like it never happened. Like, oh yeah, I never did that. So to me, it's funny. I know it's very infuriating to a lot of people, but like, I don't know, to me, it's just like, if I have to deal with that in my private practice, I just laugh at it now. And I'm just kind of like, this is a really expensive way to waste your time with all the I'm so busy stuff. It's kind of like, let's get to, but if you're dealing with someone on a personal level, you have a choice. Like, do you want to put up with that? Like, just like, oh yeah, so busy. I would be like, okay, if you're busy, then I'm going to hang out with someone who um, can prioritize me, you know? But no, like, my advice is to not take it personally. These people are deeply insecure and deeply, yes, they're afraid of intimacy and connection and all that stuff. But why are they afraid of intimacy and connection? Because they are very insecure and in a lot of cases hate themselves. And in some cases, this is especially true with like narcissist, covert narcissist, and DL men. DL is like down low. Like narcissistic men that are pretending to be straight but are gay and or bisexual and but have a lot of shame around that. I've noticed that they do this behavior, like so much fear of intimacy, and so like commitment phobe, all the things. And so like do you want to put up with that, or do you want like you probably, if you're watching this, you probably want a more fulfilling relationship. So those are things to keep in mind. If someone is a commitment phobe, like all that stuff, don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you. They are very, and deeply insecure, and refusing to look at themselves, and what a lot of people refer to as an emotional coward. And that's okay. They're just going to be doing that. But I wouldn't chase and pursue that. I would think like, okay, what inside me attracted that, is drawn to that? And did I have to chase and pursue a primary caregiver, my mom or my dad, I had to have to feel like I had to earn their love or chase it? And is that why I may be doing that now? And that's a good thing to explore by yourself, journal about it, or with someone if you're working with a coach or therapist, because that's where that is. And like all my content is about this. I want you to attract the highest and best things for yourself. And that comes from having toxic relationships and learning from them and healing from them and thriving after. Like that's why I always use the word thriving. I don't want you to just heal or like feel better. I want you to like completely recover from that, uninstall that program, download a new program, and thrive. I want you to thrive. I want you, like, I love when I see my clients just up level with their health, wealth, relationships, career. I mean, it's like glow up in every area. That's what I'm going for. Yes, we'll get over all the things when you're in the depths of despair. I'll hold your hand through all of that. And like, watch my videos, those help with those things. But I want you to thrive. That's what I want. That's why I don't center a lot of my content around like, oh, 5 things to say to a narcissist. I don't want you dealing with a narcissist or toxic person. I don't want you attracting that anymore. I don't want you to even give them energy, because they love that. They thrive off of the energy that they're giving. They don't care what you say to them. They just like that you are triggered and reacting and even like giving them any of your energy, and they're energy vampires. So I want you to just thrive and have the highest and best. And a lot of that just includes not talking to these people. And again, if you have any questions, I'm answering questions from clients and people that have DM'd me or asked me things in my comments. But if you have any questions, I will definitely answer them. So let me know. And let me see. The next question is, okay, should I forgive him? Yes, but forgiveness doesn't mean someone gets access to you. A lot of people confuse this. You can forgive people, and you should, because it's emotional freedom for yourself. When you forgive someone, you open up so much space and freedom for yourself. You feel lighter, but that is only for you. You forgive someone only for you. Okay. And forgiveness is about just like not giving them your energy and not giving them access to you in any way. And I don't care if it's your mom. I don't care if it's like, someone, and like sometimes this is a cultural thing. It's been true. Like for me culturally, it's like, oh, well, that's your mom, or that's your family. And it's like, no, they don't get a free pass to just treat you however they want. And it's like, oh, they're going to forgive me because I'm related to them. No, that's not, absolutely not. That's not how it works, unfortunately. And they don't get to, treat you like a punching bag because of that either. So, no matter who it is, you forgive them and you release that. And you also do that because if you don't forgive and you resent, you create this feedback loop where you're constantly thinking about it and giving it, even if you never talk to the person and you're giving it energy. And what does that do? That attracts the same dynamic. Don't want you to attract the same dynamic, want you to attract higher and better. So you're like, okay, I release this. And I also forgive that version of me that maybe attracted that or put up with that or thought that that's all I could, you know, attract, or maybe that I was worthy of. I forgive that version of me. I'll give that version of me a hug. And now I can step into this new version of me that has like better standards and like want needs and expects like more for herself or himself. That's it. Okay. So we want to come from that place. And the other definition of forgiveness that I love sharing with people is sorry, I'm getting that. So that I love sharing with people is that forgiveness is that every moment, every minute, every second, you're renewed. You can be another, like a new and higher, better version of yourself. Um, just making sure the mic is working. Okay. So, yes, absolutely forgive them, but that doesn't mean that you're accepting, what that like that type of behavior anymore at all. So people can conflate or confuse those things, and it is just about you moving on, you moving like in a totally different place and just being in a better place. Okay. And another question I get, and this is typically when I first start working with a client or when someone's just in the depths of despair, but like on the precipice, they're ready to change. They're like, why am I attracting these people? Why am I attracting narcissists? Why can't I? And like it's never gonna, first of all, it will change. I promise it will change. Um, and because you wouldn't be even seeing my content if you weren't ready for a change. I really firmly believe that. And so it will change. And then, okay, you're attracting a narcissist because there's something unresolved from your past. It could be a past trauma. It's typically rooted in childhood, even if you're unaware of it, even if you're like, oh my gosh, my parents weren't narcissistic. Like sometimes we're just unaware of or in denial of certain behaviors because we're told that our parents are perfect or we can't ever think poorly of our parents or caregiver, or sometimes we don't want to because we think that's a reflection of ourselves. Like if our parents did something wrong or they weren't the perfect, like how we needed them to show up, then that means we're bad in some way. So the brain will do all these things to be like, oh no, that didn't happen to me. It's just so weird that I'm attracting these toxic relationships now. Well, it probably is. And I'm not saying, like, even when I work with clients one-on-one, I don't jump into like, we need to talk about your childhood. No, I want to talk about what's going on right now and how I could help you right now. And if something links to childhood, yeah, like we'll circle back and link it to that. But it's all about like just that shadow work of like, what is that shadow aspect? Like Carl Jung talks about like the shadow, like that's lurking and kind of sabotaging us in a lot of ways, but that we can't completely see. But if we turn to it and we bring the shadow into the light, then it dissolves. Then it's not an issue anymore because we've integrated the shadow by bringing it into the light, which means bringing it into your consciousness, being aware of it. It's like, oh, yeah, I didn't get that need met in childhood and I've been like chasing it in all my relationships. Oh, yeah, like, and trauma, first of all, is subjective. I want to say, like, sometimes people think like trauma has to be this big thing. Like trauma technically in the brain is getting too much of something or too little of something. So your needs weren't met in some way, or they were like you were just overstimulated, or your needs weren't met. So that's all that means, and whatever that is for you, and that is trauma. So it's not like, because a lot of parents, especially narcissistic parents, they're like, you know what, I put a roof over your head. I did all of these things and I'm just a bad parent. And yeah, but you were emotionally abusive and neglectful. And, I see this a lot with like middle class and like even like wealthier especially like wealthier, people that come from wealthier backgrounds. It's like their parents kind of gaslight them and like, you have everything. Oh my, you are so spoiled. Like, what else could I tell me? And now you're saying you're trauma. It's like, well, yeah, because you were emotionally abusive, you were never there, or whatever the case was. So thank you for like doing the bare minimum as a parent and putting a roof over my head and feeding me, but children need more, so that happens a lot. So I just want you to know that it's okay for you to acknowledge that. And it's okay for you to acknowledge, like, okay, maybe I didn't have all my needs, like whatever you needed as a child. Maybe you're a more sensitive child. Maybe you were more an independent child and then you got smothered. I don't know what it is for you in particular, but like if you were to look at that, it will really bring things into the light and it will really clarify things and help things make sense for you. So, and then just doing that exercise of like, okay, and you don't even have to even think about like your childhood if you don't want to, because all the clues are right in front of you in present day. It's kind of like, okay, what is this pattern I have right now? Okay, let's take anxious attachment. I always feel like I'm going to be abandoned. And I always feel like I, did something wrong and I'm always waiting for the shoe to drop and eggshells. I'm walking on all these things. Okay, well then you had you might have had like a volatile parent or a parent that blamed you for everything, a parent that needed to emotionally regulate and use and offload all of their guilt and shame onto you. So you might be like a scapegoat kid or child in the family dynamic. Or you were told that like you can only get love if you do these things, and you can only get love if you shrink down, you can only get love if you whatever it is. So that could create an anxious attachment. Or a parent was an alcoholic or just not stable in some way, even if they were sober for a really long time. So they were ex-alcoholic, but a lot of people when they get sober or clean, they're still like not emotionally regulated at all. So they're and like a child's nervous system can just sense that. So you might be responding to that in adulthood and relationships, like, oh my God, are they going to leave? What are they going to be like now? What are they going to be like? I don't know. Like you just never know just stuff like that. So that would be anxious attachment. And then if you're avoidant attachment, a lot of times it's from like a caregiver, like your needs were too much, like like a lot of cold parenting comes from that. Like if you had a cold parent, then you were like, okay, what are your feelings about now? Shut up, like type of parent. And so in adulthood, that could manifest as avoidance. So it's kind of like commitment phobe. You wanting so much closeness, like avoidance really do. They want closeness, they want connection in some way, but then it feels like, it feels too much and it feels smothering and it feels like draining and then it feels like overwhelming and all these things. And so you could have that as well. So just noticing like where do you get stuck in relationships? Where's that pattern? And by the way, those two things that I mentioned, that anxious and avoidant, you can have both, which is super fun. And it's called disorganized attachment, or like the new terminology, which I don't like, is called like fearful avoidant. It's too many words and it just feels like too woke for me. When disorganized attachment, like having both anxious and avoidant attachment, it really sums it up more distinctly in my mind. Because I have like disorganized attachment. Like sometimes I'm anxious and like, or I have definitely healed from having disorganized attachment, but it is so confusing. It feels very disorganized, right? Like you're like, come here. And then you're like, get the fuck away from me. Oh, I need my space. You're so draining. It's like both, right? Because you're like the parenting was just so dysregulated. Like you didn't have like regular, safe, secure, like habitually safe parenting consistency. So if you have disorganized attachment, you're not alone, and you can definitely heal from it. I've healed from it and thrived, and like we want to move towards secure attachment, which is very possible, and it feels very good and very nice and very liberating, and that is available to you, I promise. And then the other question is, especially in the beginning, how long does it take to heal? And I think when I hear that question, I like it if someone's kind of like at a point where I'm like, I'm ready, because it means they're ready. If it's like, hey, I need this to happen, I need a magic pill, not so great. I see that with some like former people that have like compulsive behavior or like addictive type of personalities. They're like, quick fix, please. I'm not talking about that. I mean, when they're like, okay, how, like really from the bottom of your heart, like how long is it going to take for this to heal? And the answer is, it's really up to you. Another thing I ask is like, okay, what's your spiritual orientation? Do you have a relationship with a higher power, God, universe, whatever you call it? Because I believe that having some type of connection that way really expedites the process, because you aren't completely, you're surrendering, right? And you're not completely like, I have to do this. And like, there's not all this will and force and like resistance to it. And like one of my favorite books that I have here, Letting Go, is about that. It's Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by David R. Hawkins. And he talks about this. He's, he was like, and still, I don't know if he's still alive, but anyway, but he talks about how you can heal things so quickly in a state of surrender. It allows you to just emotionally like vibrate at a higher level. So you could go from depths of despair, grief, anger, and if you could just release and like let go, you could actually elevate in consciousness to a state of peace or love, which is a very high vibrational state. And then he even lists like the different states of consciousness. Let me see if I could find it. Yeah, here's a map of them, and like what they are, and like the energy levels, and like how you can elevate up. So you could go from like the lowest is kind of like blame, humiliation, and despair, right? And the highest is love, like union, and feeling like wise, merciful, like all of these different, like love, joy, peace. And peace is really, that's why I constantly talk about that. I'm not like peace, namaste. I'm not like saying it in this kind of trite type of way. I really want anyone that views my content, that works with me, takes my courses, or works with me one-on-one to like get to a vibrational and like state of peace, and where your nervous system is reset to a state of peace. That is where your creativity can flow. That's where all like the most beautiful connections and relationships happen. That's where and when your life is in a state of flow. I think my book Flow is like right over here. So when you're in that flow state, you're just in the state of peace where like creativity is just flowing in and everything feels so good. That's where I want you to be, my love. And that's where you deserve to be. Let me see. I think I answered, yeah. Those are all of the questions I had. Oh, the different personas. Okay, sorry, I forgot to answer this one. So narcissists having different personas. I was getting a lot of questions about this week. Yes, narcissists have different personas depending on who they're with. So with you, I'm sure they were, in order to pull you in, they were love bombing you. Oh my God, you're amazing. And then if you're with them for a while, you become like chopped liver, like then you start getting the worst of them, and then they're amazing to everyone else. So this is a way to gaslight you, because it's like everyone that has these superficial relationships with them thinks they're great. Like, what's your problem? Oh, you must be just a nag, or like a bitch, or like you just must be really rude, or like you're just like so hard on them. Oh my God, they're amazing, because they only know this version of them. So narcissists do that. And it's also a way to triangulate, right? So narcissists love to triangulate, which is like have one person who's kind of like the villain, or the does all the dirty work, and then one person is put on a pedestal. And so like these two people are having very different experiences of the same person, because they're being fed these different personas of the same person. So, and it's very frustrating. So, I feel your pain and I understand it, but just know that this is a normal like defense mechanism for them. You have a choice to participate in it, or you have a choice to participate in it or not. So you can decide, I'm not going to participate in this triangulation anymore. When I work with clients and they're dealing with like a boss or coworker like this, I'm like, just call them out on it. Just be like, and like look them in the eye like this. You should always deal with a narcissist like this. I'm not dealing with this triangulation. Here's what we need to do. Here's the assignment we need to get done. That's a great way to handle it when you're dealing in a work situation. In a romantic situation, and I've had this happen so many times, so again, I feel your pain, but it's kind of like you just have to draw a boundary and then be okay with walking away. So with narcissists, what they'll do is they'll have someone else that makes them like look great, right? And they'll have this like side relationship with them, which I feel like is a form of cheating. And then like you're the villain to that other person and they're kind of in the middle, so it's kind of like, okay, and then you're like, hey, we're supposed to be like in a romantic relationship, we're supposed to be on the same team. What is this person doing over here? Why are you giving them attention? This is inappropriate. Again, I still think it's a form of cheating. And so, and it's to devalue you. It's to keep the intimacy at a distance and to keep like, yeah, basically emotional like connection and commitment at a distance. And it's also to keep you pursuing. It's like, it makes you feel like, why can't I thought we were in a relationship. Why aren't we like just a unit? And why am I not the center of your universe? Or why why do I have to compete for your attention with this other person? So that is triangulation. And then their different personas come out where sometimes you'll get and the other thing is this, like when they feel like, okay, peace, I'm leaving, then they'll come back with their love bombing persona that made you fall in love with them in the beginning. So there's that. That is the cycle of the narcissist different personas. And with overt narcissists, there's a huge range. With covert narcissists, like all narcissists have superficial relationships. That's what keeps the people around, that people don't know. Narcissists' biggest fear is like, please don't get to know me because I hate myself. And if you see who I really am, you'll hate me too, and you'll reject me. And I'm very afraid of rejection. So there's that. But again, that's a choice. If you notice that's going on, one, know that you're not crazy. So yes, this is a real thing with the different personas and the triangulation. It's a very real thing. You're not making it up. You have every right to feel the way that you're feeling. And the best thing to do is to decide, this isn't serving me. And there's so many people that I can be in a committed, safe, stable, very secure relationship with someone where I don't have to even worry about this happening. You're worth that. And you could have that. And another thing, like, okay, so abundance versus scarcity mindset. So this came up kind of like on the tail end of talking to clients, like, okay, maybe it's time for you to walk away from this dynamic. Oh, and then scarcity mindset comes in, which doesn't exist. Scarcity is a form of fear, and fear is not real. Fear is false evidence appearing real. So fear, the letters, I remind people that the fear, like the words FEAR, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. It is not real. Okay. We are taught that. That's how we're brainwashed to believe that. So we buy things and we stay in relationships we're not supposed to be in, but fear is not real. Again, if you have a connection to any type of higher power, you are always abundantly provided for in the highest and best, like most joyous, easy way. Okay. So we get into these scarcity mindsets, especially if we're dealing with a narcissist, like, oh, you're never going to get anyone better than me. It's all scarcity. Narcissists thrive on scarcity. So you get into this mindset of like, I can't have that. I can't. Da, da, da. So there's that. So know that that's not real. And you have to tell yourself, and when you get to the phase of healing where it's kind of like, God, universe has got me and is like just flooding me in a very joyous way with so many good things, especially if I could let go of this like garbage, this trash sitting in the, corner of my house, or like whatever, like mentally, if you think about that, like as your house, like if I can get rid of this filth, like what if you just had trash accumulating in your place? That's like keeping around toxicity, right? It's just like growing, getting smellier and ickier. So if you could get rid of that and make space, like all this nice, clean, beautiful, peaceful space, well, of course it's going to be more inviting to better energy. Of course it is. And knowing and trusting that is the case. Again, it's one of my favorite things to walk through with people that take my courses or my clients. It's like, okay, we're going to release this and watch all the good stuff come in. And it is so exciting. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hold your hand while we do this, but you got to trust me. And and, like, really trust yourself and really trust your higher power, God, universe, whatever you call it. And when you do, it just leads to so many beautiful things. Instead of being in that resistance, fear state where everything's so hard, your life was not meant to be hard. Okay, again, if you believe in a higher power, your higher power isn't like, "Oh, yeah, everything's gotta suck and be hard for you, and I'm always punishing you." No. And I don't believe in that fear, like, type like, I believe that whoever your higher power is wants the highest and best for you, and that's available to you. And yeah, maybe the narcissist I also believe that narcissists are put in your life to, like, really propel like, elevate your consciousness in this really dramatic way. So instead of just, like, learning these lessons, it's like you could have this slingshot moment where it's kind of like, "Oh, fuck this shitty relationship," boom, and then you let it go, you leave that relationship, and then you're just propelled to another level of health, wealth, relationships, career. That is just so you're like, and you're thinking like every narcissist I've dealt with, I'm like, thank you. I'm freaking over here thriving and you're doing the same shit. So like be thankful for them. Um, so yeah, so that abundance and scarcity mindset. And the other layer that's like a little bit deeper is that like sometimes we get what we manifested or what we've been praying for. And then it's kind of like, oh my God, the immediate fear that it's going to be taken away. Okay. So that, or when you have any type of overwhelm, overwhelm, I feel like is a form of scarcity that gets overlooked because overwhelmed is like, oh my God, I can't hold this thing. That's why like lottery winners like lose all their money, or you might manifest your dream relationship and sabotage it because you haven't matched your self-concept, your identity, your worth, which is all self-concept stuff. Like, I am this person. I am this multimillionaire. I am this person that deserves that is in this job position. I am this person that has this beautiful relationship with this person that treats me this way. You have to step into that new version of yourself, that new self-concept. The book Psycho-Cybernetics is all about self-concept. And when you can step into, especially if you can step into that version of yourself beforehand. So if you are manifesting something in your life and it's like, okay, I am that now. I'm going to embody that now. I'm going to act like the CEO of whatever now. I'm going to act like I'm married to the partner of my dreams right now. Like, I'm going to embody that. I'm going to act like a multimillionaire or billionaire right now because I am. And then that could come in faster because your frequency is matching it and you could hold it. You're not going to have it and then lose it. So overwhelm is like, do I have the capacity to hold it? Okay. So every time you get overwhelmed, think about that. And you could switch. You could be like, no, I got this. I know how to handle all these things because I'm a boss or whatever it is that you want. Or you know what? I can outsource this because I'm good at letting like this new version of myself has a staff and is good at letting people delegate. And it's okay for me to have free time. I don't have to feel guilty about that, whatever it is. So okay, just gonna check and see if you guys have any questions. Um, and then if not, thanks for joining me. Definitely subscribe and so we could hang out more. Um, let's see. Yeah, I don't see any questions. So I just want to make sure. This is actually the first time really that I've like gone live on uh, YouTube. I have a couple times in the past, but, like, not full like this, so, um, if I did miss your question, definitely DM me, but I don't think I did, um, but anyway, I've enjoyed this live with you guys, and then if you also have questions about anything, like and you want me to give a full explanation in my next live, go ahead and DM me, and I will answer. I love answering your guys' questions. And making videos on, topics that you guys are asking about as well. Okay, it's been good hanging out with you guys, and I will have an amazing weekend. This will be posted later, and I will talk to you soon.